Jan Stinchcomb is the author of Varushka from Journalstone, The Kelping from Unnerving, The Blood Trail from Red Bird Chapbooks, and Find the Girl from Main Street Rag. Her stories have appeared in Bourbon Pen, Smokeland Quarterly, Maudlin House, Best Microfiction 2020, and the Best Small Fictions 2018 and 2021. Jan, it's yours.
Thanks for coming, everyone. This is basically my villain's backstory from an earlier point before she meets Devon. Kira was not the first girl to be sacrificed, but she haunted Verushka with a persistence rivaling that of any ghost. At first glance, Kira's dark brown eyes reminded Verushka of Elena, and that was where the trouble began. She took things slowly, so slowly that Davor asked her to explain. "Are we going to keep her with us, Mama?" He was worried. She did not answer. "I know you're not like other people," Kira told her one day. "You're very rich, and you've done something. You're running from someone. You're the one who ran away from home, Kira." This was true. She was a merchant's daughter who had left home because of an unwanted pregnancy, but the baby had died within days. "All interesting people leave home. It's different in your case. Can you prove your theory?" Kira frowned. "I'm not accusing you of a crime. I want to know you better. I love you." They were living as a couple by this point. Davor stayed away from the apartment. Verushka spent the days sleeping and the nights wandering the streets, trying to outrun her emotions, while Kira grew more and more frantic. "Where do you go? Where does a respectable woman go at night?" "You're still attached to respectability?" Kira grew flustered and her face turned red. Verushka knew that under her clothes, Kira's whole body was blushing. Sometimes she could calm this girl merely by leading her over to the bed. Kira, though intelligent and a survivor, was still like a child. Verushka knew she could do anything she wanted to her. "Why are you staring at me like that?" "You worry too much, my dear. You tell yourself stories that upset the both of us." "I don't like it when you leave me alone. Sometimes I think I don't belong here. Perhaps it would be better if I went away." "What, and lived on the street? Who would buy you such pretty gowns? Where would you rest your head?" "You're being cruel." "You don't know what you're saying, Kira. You're overwrought. Let me make you some tea." "I do know what I'm saying. Your body is changing. I've seen it. You scratch your wrists and ankles in your sleep. Sometimes your skin looks different. Once I thought I saw the shape of a tree on your back. You must be ill." And then, with a touch of hope, she asked, "Do you go to see a doctor in the evening? Are you hiding some terrible illness and you're afraid to tell me?" At first, Verushka was furious, but then she managed to control herself. She took Kira's face in her hand and promised her the tea would make everything better. That was the end of Kira. Verushka's feelings changed even before Kira swallowed the last drop of poison. The mistake was obvious. She had allowed herself to love someone other than Davor. She would never be so careless again. She could not afford to fail. After she and Davor laid Kira beneath a tree deep within the Bois de Boulogne, Verushka made the mistake of turning around. The man, her man, stepped out of the tree and took Kira's body, just as he had taken her body all those years ago. Verushka rushed off to a cafe where she could surround herself with ordinary humans. It was reassuring to blend into a large public group after she had completed her gruesome task. Davor bid her goodbye and went off on his own. He had the soul of a teenager and would appear again when it suited him. In the cafe that evening, something unprecedented happened. The waiter brought her a cognac and told her it was from the man in the corner. Verushka barely smiled. She was always getting unwanted attention, and this was yet another signal that she needed to move on and return to her apartment. Still, she turned her head and saw that it was the man in the tree, sitting there at a corner table like any other Parisian gentleman. Her mouth went dry. A terrible itching buzzed from her scalp to her toes, and she had a moment of panic. What if she turned his splinters right here? She rose and walked over to him. He stood and bowed. "Good evening, my love." How are you here like this? Where did you get those clothes? These questions are hardly ladylike. Vereshka realized she had never heard such a human voice from his lips. She shook her head in disbelief. Don't worry, this human form has taken everything from me. I will not be able to stay here long. Then why risk it? To persuade you to come home. I have no home thanks to you. You and Davor both have a home in the forest. You know this. I feed you. Davor feeds the water sprites. We give you everything you need. I need you. We need you. You have a family in the forest. Vereshka wanted to cry out. She kept her voice low and calm. She could already see the man changing before her, slowly revealing his true self. Tell me, she said, what I can do. I don't want to live this way forever. Come home to the village of your birth. What if I never want to return? Is there no other way? If you deliver me a maiden at the tree where we first met, then she can take your place. Choose carefully. Be vigilant. If you fail, you will live as my wife forever. His forest self flashed before her for one horrible moment, and then he dissolved into the wooden chair where he was sitting. Vereshka went back to her table and drank the cognac in one gulp. She left the cafe. Extreme fatigue overtook her, and after she arrived at her apartment, she slept for 3 dreamless days. No more love, she reminded herself when her head cleared. No more wasting time. How she wished she could have delivered Kira to the tree in her village. She should have had more patience with that girl. She also wished she had learned something more about Davor's future, but that was his problem to solve. Maybe he would be content with a lifetime of tossing babies into Eastern European rivers. She needed a change. She had long lived enough on this continent. It was time for a new place. Davor agreed to come with her, at least for the time being. They packed their trunks again. We must get you some proper clothes, Vereshka said, as Davor filled his trunk with the usual rocks, sticks, and dried plants. It's better this way, Mama, easier. There was no use arguing. Her son was happy skipping around half naked along the banks of rivers, swimming every day, no matter the weather. He didn't mind feeding the sprites. Perhaps he was more sprite than human, not only because of who his father was, but because he was born in the water. He had never known anything different. But Vereshka had lived an ordinary life once, and now it was time for her to convince someone new that she was like any other woman, only more desirable. She had to become the kind of person who could make a girl throw away everything she had ever known. Thank you.